Welcome back to Duro3 YouTube channel. In this video, which will be made up of several short videos, I'm going to be showing the upgrades, modifications and repairs that I do to Kempro KR400s and DAIWA DR-7500s. These are basically the same rotator. The only difference is the Kempro does not have the motor start capacitor on board. It's actually in the controller, so they're basically Kempro made them for DAIWA basically. So basically this is part one in a sense. This one is dealing with limit switches installation. So limit switches are really good, especially with these, because I have all the time, over time I've had so many motors being burned out by people driving it into the end stop, or direction switches getting held down or whatever and burning the motors out, or breaking ring gears because they're fully loaded and driving them into the end stop and snapping the ring gear. So as you can see, I have one already mounted in here, and I'll put it on little, it's been installed with M3 nuts underneath it just to raise it up so the actuator doesn't rub on the actual the top chassis. So in this one I've actually put a hole here for a little P-clip to hold the wiring so it doesn't get caught up in anything. We have a main hole going through for the wiring, so the wiring will be coming up through from the bottom, comes through from the bottom hole here, which I've made into this as well, and it splits out and goes into here, so it goes to the limit switches and then back out again. And then we have another P-clip mounting hole here, stop this flaring out, and we have the other holes sitting here, which I've already drilled out and tapped. M2.5 these ones, M3 for these ones, and this is the mod I do for this one. Keeping it as with the brake pad on the very top here, hence this brake pad here. So there's another version I do where I remove this and the brake is done below here, which is a major modification. I may show that one in the next video, in another video I should say. So let's physically put the other limit switch in, and I can show it installed. First thing I do is I add a bit of Loctite. I use this one, 3 bonds, just a bit of Loctite in the hole. We grab the limit switch, orientate the right way around, grab our M2.5 screws, we slide it in to the hole, we put the little 3mm nuts. That just packs it up enough just to get it off the actual the activator off the actual top of the chassis. And get my fingers working. Line up the holes, put them in there like that. Move back so we can see what we're doing. Screw these up. Get both lined up. Haven't got to over tighten these. Now we've got Loctite there. Already had it. So just clean up that excess of the Loctite. Don't need that having it everywhere. So basically now when you look at this, and I'll get really close when it focuses. I'll come in slowly, let it focus, and you'll see, or hear and see, hear the limit switch clicking in. About 1 millimetre before. You can have 2 millimeters, whatever, as long as it's turning the motor off before it hits the end stop. And here's the other one. And then I normally bend these accordingly when I'm actually physically have the when I'm in the middle of alignment. Everything I can actually just tweak these by just bending these just to align to make sure that they are turning off at the right amount of rate. But they'll be done in the installation when I'm doing the whole reassembly. So another thing you might notice here, or maybe not, there's a hole here just next to the shaft, or back end of the shaft of the number 1 gear. This gear has got no way of getting any lubrication in on the shaft, and basically when I get these, sometimes these are actually so badly frozen or seized up, I've actually got to take this shaft out. I've got to degrind this, take it out and clean it, and then put it back together again. This one I was able to just drill the hole because it was working, and then inject oil in and then get it working. So that's the first 2 little upgrades that I do. I'll be showing you in the next section will be shafts, shaft upgrades that I do. So that'll be in the next section of this video. Okay, we shall catch you then. Bye. Okay, we're back. Part 2 regarding shafts, or gear shafts, or gearbox shafts. So basically a KR400 has these shafts, and basically they spin when the gears spin within here, and as you can see they wear either the base plate or this, and then your gears and everything have meshing is nowhere near as good. And plus this one, not this particular ones, I had to replace the shafts as they were very badly grooved from the gearing. These have marks on it, but they're only just marks. So basically the upgrade that I do is I affix the shafts into the base plate, and that is done by using a cold chisel and putting in, come on, focus, putting little hits into here, which then puts longitudinal grooves in the shaft. And then what I do, since that's made it all rougher and bigger, I then press that into this here. So I shall be back in a second with at least one pressed in, and then we'll go forward. Presto! We're back. There's one done, as you see. No more moving, no more spinning around. It's tight as anything. I have an alignment plate I put in here, which is an old top, and I use that to press these in and align them and make sure they're nice and straight. So even if you look down through there, they're all nice and straight. So we shall get the other one in. Okay, back we come. Here we are again, part 2. So basically this is my alignment plate. It's just an old plate that I use for putting these in, putting the shafts in. So as you can see, the shafts are nicely in line, not moving around, not spinning, all pressed in. And now I can, and it's really good for assembly too. So when you're putting all the gears on, you haven't got to worry about shafts floating around, and you can get the alignment really good and everything. So yeah, so that's that mod done, and I shall be moving on to the next one. I'm not too sure what's coming up next. It's going to be something, but we shall show you at next. Right. Part 3. Okay, this is regarding gearing. In the early version of KR400s and DAIWA DR-7500s, the final drive gears onto the ring gear, these ones here, are loose, stacked, and there's only 3 of them. And basically these have a tendency of chewing out the ring gear because there's only 3 stacked. Now what I do, in the later versions, they become a 4 stack. So what I've done is I got a few of these gears. I've actually then, I now make this into a 4 stack gear. And what I've got to do is replace the first spacer, which is an 8mm. This is an 8mm one. I then replace that with a one I've cut down, and that is just slightly under 6mm. And then I can put on the 4 stack gears, and they line up perfectly then when I get these in. And then of course this one, this side remains the same. There's your second gear, or second gear back from the drive. That goes in, and then your next gear will go in. You see that it makes it much easier for assembly when you're doing this as well, because the whole thing doesn't fall all over the countryside. So basically everything is in like that, and basically, yeah, and then we put an 8mm on this one, and then we put I think this is the 5mm on that one. And so there we go. So there, it shows it all moving. Of course it's going to sound funny with all no oil or grease in this. So there you go. So that's another little mod that I do for a KR400 and DR-7500. Okay, we shall be back with the next episode. Okay, we're back. Part 4, or what are we up to? Stop that flaring out. Okay, so now I have actually physically put the motor in, and I've aligned it with the gear internally, which I'll pull this apart in a second. So basically this, I'll just separate the top and bottom housing. Try to get that off there. I've also, while I've got you here, I've actually glued these lower two spacers in position so they don't get mixed up, and also helps stabilise the bottom of these things as well. Don't want them to get all mixed up. So okay, here we go. So I've actually physically got the brake pad in, as you can see. Oh, hope I get the thing in the right direction. Brake pad's in. I serviced the motor, and now I'm just seeing a bit of something on top of the other. It's a bit of brush off from my brush. Let me get that out of there. Imagine what you'd see when you don't want to see it. I've got a new brush to put grease on things, and it just lost. We can't see it. Just lost some bristle, but it showed it really well on the internals there. So basically, I've greased this. Of course, when you lift it up, it spins easier. Lower it down. If I do it that way around, it'll be easier. So on the way down, we try and turn the gear. It's harder to turn. Use the little finger down here, lift it up, and spin him, and then it makes it harder to turn. So that's the braking system working. And you've got to test it, make sure the brake moves up and down and doesn't jam when you actually get this done. So there we are. So that's all good. So that's happening. So the next stage will be to load the gears up onto here, grease them, get them all ready to go, and basically then I'll come back again, I'll show you that in line, and then I'll bolt that together, and then I can get to the wiring stage and get this thing moving forward. Catcher. Part 5 maybe. Okay, the video that was meant to be in this position was corrupt and I could not use it, which got to me, and I started calling ring gears bearing rings, and things from then on didn't go according to plan. I'm sorry, but I continued on. I didn't realise this had happened, and I had to make this video after the fact. So we shall carry on with the next section. A bit disjointed, but we'll see how we go. Catch up. Right, hence why I mentioned before, this one has a very high edge here, and your cables have got to go around the top here, and it's sharp. So basically what I do, when I do my mod with a capacitor board with the other ones, I put my bracket this side so we have a free run this way. You know, the capacitor will sit that way around, but I can't do it that way because it doesn't fit this bracket, so I'm going to use the original bracket. So I just rolled the edges a bit to physically, so we haven't got a sharp edge like that. So now we can move forward, put this on. My one sits a little bit, when I mount it up, sits a bit closer to the motor, which means then the wiring can come through here a lot easier. I mean, even so, I could probably run the wiring in underneath as well, but yeah, it's got to come up to about here somewhere, thereabouts where the hole is. So yeah, no problem. Well, there we are. At least I rolled the edge anyway, it needed it, just in case it goes that way. Righty-o. Well, there we are, we're up to that stage now. I am going to basically stop now, and I'm going to do the wiring part of this, and then I'll be back. Hey, we're back. All wired up. All the wiring is installed. All the limit switches are wired up. Limit switches are working. And you might notice I've got an extra wire in here. The yellow wire is a limit switch return. I normally wire it in because I'm using a 5-core tin copper trailer cable, so I might as well stick it in, because it's otherwise I just got to chop it out and waste it. So it can be activated at any time if need be. So you have a limit switch light that when the limit switch is activated, a light will turn on in the controller. So basically this is all done. So the new potentiometer is wired up. I changed the colour of one of the wires because it conflicted with the brown here, so I made it into a purple. So yeah, we're moving forward. So she's all looking pretty good. I just got over now, install it into the actual housing. Okay, we have now installed the motor and gearbox into the lower housing. This lower housing was glass bead blasted and then etch primed, and then painted in a hammer tone silver paint. So yeah, and then I've gone back and I've then polished the tracks. The tracks are a little bit rough, but not, I've seen a lot worse than this one, so yeah, it's just a little bit rough in places. So the same thing I did with the bearing ring, and it was I did the same with it. I polished it back up, a little bit rough in places, but it is what it is. And the top housing I'd had the inside done as well, and I actually resealed it with a clear, so it was actually I know everything's okay. And then the outside was done again. This one had some damage. Someone, I don't know why you'd break it off here, but the one of the actual guides has been broken off. I can't do much about that. The rest of the casing is in good condition, so there we go. We just have to deal with what we make do with what we've got, I should say. So there's that. The plastic terminal cover is in reasonable condition. Even the rubber grommet is okay. So even the internal is I couldn't find any cracks in it, so this one's in good condition. All the stainless steel bolts I have put into a solution which cleans them all up like just about like new. And that includes the bolts for the casing as well as the screws for the actual terminal block cover. And I did the actual screws that actually hold the actual, these two screws here. They're all stainless steel as well, so I've actually done those as well. So I've done all those, and basically, so that's now, all I've got to do now is install bearings in the top track. The bearing ring has got to go in. I better get that too as well. I forgot to bring out something. So here's the bearing ring. It's in not too bad a condition. For a 3-stack, you can see slight wear points or pressure points within the aluminium, but since I've made it into a 4-stack now, we should actually not be as bad. So there is a few minor depressions in this, but you don't really notice until you actually polish it up. So there's a few depressions in the bearing ring, obviously where it's been sitting for a while, I think. And I think this rotator has been apart at some time in its life, because you can see different points of where it's been sitting. So we have to make do with what we've got again. So these things are like hen's teeth, so we just have to make do with what we've got. Right, I shall move forward and we shall be back in the next section. Bye. Okay, we're back. Rightioty, I've now got the top bearing track in, and I've got the bearing ring in, and you can see I've greased everything up, and so we're going to move forward to the next section. I've already done a basic alignment already, and everything seems to be working fine. Well, it's run in a line. So I've got all my marks on here. There's the north mark, and there's the south mark, being end, and there's the limit switches. That's what I mark it as done. So okay, I will move forward. I'm going to put the top casing on, take some photos, and try and get this thing finished. I'll catch you soon. We're back. Okay, all done. Just basically showing you all running. Next, so basically top housing on, bearings are in, around upside down, and around. I've labelled it. I've labelled this side. I've labelled that side. A bit bloody close, but it focused. Amazing. So that's got that done. I've also wanted to show you the mast clamps. I probably showed you before, but I've actually just installed focus inserts into these stainless steel inserts. So basically these are threaded versions, so they thread into these. These are 2 halves. So this one has a hole, and we basically just put a bolt straight through and thread into there. And so the recoil inserts just make it a lot better, and plus the stainless steel bolts would actually normally fuse into the aluminium. Well, now it's isolated from it, so it's less likely to, and they screw in a lot better too as well. So as you can see, and if you really wanted to, you can put a lock nut on the outside if you wanted to. So that's done. So I've done all those. I'll put those aside. Okay, controller together. I've labelled the top of the controller for where the fuse is and where the adjuster is, and I've also labelled the back with just my label and whatnot. So I just thought I'd show you this before I put the top back on it again, because I have finished aligning the actual rotator, so I can put the lens in. So the lens is all in and screwed off, so it's all ready to go. So I just thought I'd show you that prior to putting the lid on and buttoning it up for the last time. Hooray! Get those on there, then we can show you it working. Hooray, hooray! So I'll get these screwed off. You see what I'm doing? No, you can't see what I'm doing. Helped by move things around a bit. There we go. I wasn't behind the camera, I was beside it trying to get the screws in. There we go. Now we can reach over top of it. Right. Okay. Let's move him back a bit. See if we can rotate this thing around without hitting anything. Alrighty, I've already got it plugged in. So there we have to turn him on. I might just tip it up a little bit so you can, oh maybe not, so there we go. So we'll spin him around to the left. It's a bit quieter now that the casing is on. See how close we can get to here. So coming around to east. Very hard to see the needle, but you might be able to see it just. Actually made it worse. I'll stop it round about south. There's south, and my alignment mark. South, there's my blue line, and south. So there we go. And then there is overlap. There's enough overlap here. Oh, wrong way. You get like that much overlap. Right, yeah, let's go back the other way, and we'll show it all done, and then I can remove the wiring and put the terminal cover on, so it looks like it's all finished. So we're getting really close. I might actually put it up a little bit. There we go. So you can see the marksman from the background. The stainless steel inserts definitely make the threads in these a lot better. That's another little modern upgrade that I do. So we've gone through north. I had to do a little bit of fudging on the actual alignment, so south is a little bit out because of it, because I wanted to get north exactly right. And never actually ever get these style of controllers 100% smack bang on. So we get down to south, it's a little bit over normally. Where is it? Yeah, we're not far off, it's just about there. So it's just a little bit out, and we get the overlap, and the limit switches take over, which is a good thing. The limit switches are taking over, so and what we do, you can't burn the motor out. And back we go. I'll park it at north. I'll pull the wires off and basically put the front cover on, and we'll then basically be done. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Then I can take a few more photos and put this thing up for sale. Where's my north mark? North mark's around here. Here we come up to the north mark. There we go. And we are, all intents and purposes, smack bang on north. Righty-righty, let's turn that off, undo all the cables, screw them back in again. I'll probably supply with this one some fork terminals to the customer, so you don't have to wrap wires around. Nothing worse. I don't like terminal blocks personally, but just trying to make this thing as cheap as possible. Everything extra costs money, so using what I've got. So I'll put that there. I've also already put the cable P-clip on the side. So there's our little. Let's just move the controller back a little bit. Drop these into there. A lot of people make big mistakes on doing these things up really tight, and that's when they crack them. So it pays to just nip them. It's only just keeping a bit of moisture off. You do it up too tight, you're going to crack it, and then you have more moisture getting in. So, and it's got a drain just here and a drain hole on the bottom anyway. So, and putting silicone over everything, it doesn't solve the problem, it only makes it worse. It then sucks all the air in through the bearings. So if this husk can't breathe through here, through this hole and everything around here, it's only going to suck in past the bearings, which will make it worse. So just don't do it up too tight. Don't put silicone everybody where. It's not necessary. And if you want to get your bloody trying to service it, you can't, because you've got silicone every bloody where. Okay, there we are. I've got my stick on the bottom. Where they're done there, I'd get this cables off the back of here, and then I can take some final photos, and we'll be done. Help if I did the other side one first, and do that one, and do back up again so we don't have them vibrating loose. The thing with the original screws that are in here, they had the back of the screw pinched, and so if you want to replace the screw, if you cross-threaded it, you couldn't. So basically you had to pull the whole thing out to physically replace the screw with those particular ones. These ones you can take them right out. If you want to change a screw over, you can just take them right out. So that's why I changed these over to the Kempro style. I just salvage them out of other Kempro rotators and make these dial ones slightly better. Righty-righty. We'll try and get all this stuff sitting back over here. I've got all nuts and bolts and stuff sitting here and whatnot. So there we go. Probably can't. I'm not going to get it all on the screen, but we'll give it a good shot. Something like that. Go back further. Oh, that'll do for now. Right, a bit more. Righty-righty. I could actually physically put those on top of there, couldn't I? We could be a bit more arty-farty. And we can put some screws into there. And you can actually physically see it. Why not? That's a good idea. Show everything that actually does go together. And all the screws come through from one side. I'm going to probably tilt the camera up again now. Righty-righty. There we go. Put it over there like that. Tilt it a bit. Now I can tilt it down. I went too far. As far as we can go. Might be able to go back a tad further. Tilt up. There we go. Righty-righty. There we go. Final shot. Catch it in the next refurb. Bye.